you very much for your interest in wanting to know what's coming up in Mahara 1504. I haven't actually checked whether it has already been released by now, but the plan was to release this new version of Mahara either today or latest tomorrow. So it will be up and running anytime soon now. So you can take a look at it and use it. So why do we call Mahara now 1504? It is not that we jumped 14 versions, but it is more for our users to actually know when their Mahara version that they are using has been released. So 15 stands for the year, for 2015, and the 04 stands for the month in which Mahara was released. Because we have 2 releases per year, one in April and one in October, and so we are following kind of the Ubuntu date-based versioning system, which I believe makes it easier for you all to know how long ago your version has actually been last updated, instead of trying to remember was 1.6 2 years ago or 3 years ago, how old is my version compared to where I am now. Now in 2 years time, if you know your version is Mahara 1504, you know it was from 2015 April, and you can see more quickly whether you need to switch. And since we have primarily users and not so many programmers, we think that the date-based versioning system is just a bit easier to understand. So a few notable features in 1504. I'm not going to give you the rundown of all of them because they are just too many, but here's just one that copying is simplified. So on every page of yours, you now have a copy button, so you don't have to go to your pages or collections and they copy a page, copy a collection, then find the page or collection, and then finally copy it. But all you need to do, thanks Shane, all you need to do is click the copy button. If you're just on one page, it copies the page. If you're on a collection, you get the choice whether you want to copy the entire collection or just a page. And it also works when somebody made a page copyable to you. So then you don't see the edit button because you don't have permission to edit somebody else's page, but you still see the copy button and can more easily put it into your portfolio. So whenever you create a template for your students, you don't have to tell them kind of the 5 steps on finally getting the template when they don't get it automatically. But what you can do is point them to the page and they have the copy button right there. Artifact feedback on a page. That's a feature that we are very grateful for from the New York Institute of Technology. And it basically means that you can see feedback that has been placed on an artifact, so on a content item, directly on your page as well, and not just the page feedback. So what you can do is you have an add comment link directly there, which takes you to the details page of that content item so that you can leave feedback there. And also you have a comments link. So once you see that, you know how many comments have been left on that artifact. And when you click that link, it kind of expands so that you can actually read all the comments. And then you can close it again if you don't want to see it anymore. So that is a first step into the direction of maybe even leaving comments on the page or annotating kind of individual parts on the page, but at least you'll see very easily, are there any comments on an artifact, and then you can view it and don't have to click on the artifact itself. Selecting internal images has always been very difficult, and Mike Kelly from the University of the Arts London made a change so that you can now actually select images that you had uploaded to Mahara yourself and don't have to know the URL. So you can still put a URL in there, also if you have an external image, if you want to include the UniSA logo, for example, and don't really want to download it and upload it again. However, if you want to include an image that should also, or any other file that, your image that should also be in your portfolio, then you simply can either upload it directly from there. So if you haven't already put it into your files area, or if it is already in your files area, you can select it, like you do with any other attachments in other areas of Mahara. And then it'll just populate the image URL for you and the image is being displayed. There are a few more layout options further down, so if you want to place it on the left or on the right, so that has stayed the same. The big improvement was that you can actually select internal images and that they are then of course also displayed correctly and have the correct permissions and don't just go away when you shared your page, but not really the artifact itself. Drag and drop on mobile is again something now that more and more people have smartphones and tablets has been pretty bad for a number of years. Yes, we've had the responsive design for Mahara already since Mahara 1.6, so for quite some time. But when you went to a mobile device and you wanted to create a page, you still had to kind of first click the item on a radio button and then click on another button on the page itself so that you could place it there. Now the technology has advanced so far that you can actually do drag and drop by touch on touch devices. And so now you can build your pages like you're used to on the desktop version by simply dragging and dropping those blocks in. So that was work done by one of our interns at Catalyst over the summer. We participate in Summer of Tech, an initiative in Wellington, and so that was one of the tasks that she did. And so that's now a really nice addition to just make it closer to what the desktop version can also do. That takes me to a brief intermission in our tour through all the new functionality. Namely, if you are using a smartphone and if you are interested in having a mobile app for Mahara, doesn't matter really if you are on iPhone or on Android, and you want to help one of our students who's doing his industry project with us, then please let him know, send him an email. It is Scott Allen from Victoria University. And what he's currently looking at is to improve the usability specifically of Mahara Droid. That is the Android application for Mahara, which allows you to upload photos, videos, and now also with the release from last week, write journal entries and have those directly pushed into your portfolio. And even if you're not an Android user, it would be great if you gave him feedback on what you would like an application to use. So also if you have experience with Portfolio app or now Experience app, that would be fantastic for him to know so that he can take care of that and also look into implementing those features, because right now there's still the question, should it be an Android application or should we also make it available for iPhone? Sorry. And that much for an intermission. Now let's look further into the features of Mahara. Display of pages in a group. So far, when you are displaying shared pages and also group pages, you are you're pretty limited, because you always see the pages alphabetically and you don't really know when somebody has updated something. And so thanks to Switch, which is a Swiss company who has a multi-tenanted Mahara instance for Swiss universities, we have a whole bunch of new functionality in there. The first one is you don't just have to view pages in alphabetical order anymore, but you can view them according to when they received updates last. So when somebody updated a page, that page jumps to the top, so that it's much easier for instructors now to actually look at the pages and know, yes, I'm looking at the most recent ones first. And you can also display pages based on only members of the groups, because a lot of times people share their pages with the group. Sorry, but at the end of the semester, they leave, maybe even leave the group. But if they didn't put an end date for when their page is shared, the page is still shared with the group. So eventually, after a year or 2 years, there could be 100, 200 pages shared with the group, but nobody actually being in the group anymore, or only a very small percentage. So what you can now say is, yes, I only want to see the pages by members of this group. And of course, also when you share pages or collections, you can see whether only by members of the group or by anybody. And also then display shared pages and collections in alphabetical order or according to last updated. And so that also means that we updated what actually points to that update, that it's not just the page, but also any artifacts on the page. So that means now when you write a journal entry and a journal is embedded in your page, the page is being regarded as being updated, so that you can also work with those items. So that was quite a bit of work there for Switch, and it is really nice to make that available in Mahara for everyone now. Tobias from the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, he implemented something that has been bugging a lot of German users in particular, namely the default options in Microsoft Excel are that any CSV file has a semicolon and not a comma, and making it very hard for them to actually generate CSV files that can be read by Mahara directly. And so he implemented it so that Mahara also recognizes a semicolon. So it might be also the same case in English, so you don't really have to worry about that anymore, but you can just upload your CSV file and it is being recognized. And then one feature that Shane and I are going to talk about in a follow-on session later is smart evidence. And for that big feature, we already implemented a small feature, namely annotations. And they are the first step into having a more formalized process of creating pages and also putting evidence on them and also reflecting on that. Because what the annotation does is that you can write, that you can annotate your artifacts and also invite feedback on the annotation, and the annotation or the text of the annotation will then actually be logged as soon as some artifact has been put on it. Sorry, so that you cannot change it anymore. So very similar to what the feedback is like right now already, just more specific to individual pieces on the page or the page itself, so that you can annotate why you have put something against standard X or Y. And a very small thing, but visual changes. Now, in a lot of places in Mahara, we've changed from checkboxes to switchers to toggles, which you know more from mobile applications as well, making it hopefully again easier to also use on mobile devices. And if you want to learn more about smart evidence and the work that University of Canberra has been doing in that regard, please come to the session later. We've also made a number of notification improvements thanks to iCampus 21, Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, and also students, high school students who participated in our Catalyst Open Source Academy over the summer, namely in the notifications area. We now have a compose link so that you don't have to find the person first to whom you want to send a message, but you can send message directly from here. We also display the messages that haven't been read yet at the top, so that you can see them more easily, no matter when they have actually been created, which is kind of nice, especially when you have a lot of notifications and kind of lots of pages and would need to sift through them all first. And we also have the buttons for replying, either to a single person or to multiple people directly in there as well. And one other big thing that you don't really see so much on the front end is automated testing. We use Behead, which is an automated functional testing suite for it, similar to what Moodle also has. And that allows us to find regressions more quickly and therefore kind of eliminate bugs or not actually have bugs develop first. And that is built into Mahara directly in the course so that you could also run those tests yourself, or if you have customizations, you can write your own tests and therefore help you during upgrades from one version to another, because you don't have to spend so much time testing things manually. And we also have a very huge implementation with the web services. Totra Learning Solutions contributed to that, but we already had quite a bit of the functionality already available as a plugin. And that is the first big step into the direction of removing MNet and switching it to something that is more modern, based more on modern standards, and allows us to be more flexible also in connecting to other applications and use a lot of the current standards there.
What are the standards used in?
They are still XMLRPC, SOAP, and OAuth as well. So kind of the general standards, that industry standards. Yeah. And there's lots and lots more in there. Sometimes kind of smaller features, but some can also be nevertheless very important because they do improve the usability. Now, that's been very much Mahara focused and centered. So let's take a look at what we've already been discussing in Shane's session earlier on, the Mahara assignment submission plugin. because a number of you might not have known that this was also updated over the last few months. So what you can do with the new and improved assignment submission plugin is to connect your Mahara portfolio and have pages and collections shared. You can just choose it in your regular Moodle assignment screen, so it is not separate anymore, but it integrates into the regular Moodle assignment once you have the plugin installed. And you can decide whether you want to lock pages or not when they are being submitted, so depending on your teaching philosophy. And then if you install the feedback plugin, which goes with the assignment submission plugin, you can also decide whether you want to leave the feedback rather on the Mahara pages instead of in the Moodle gradebook. And so once you have the assignment set up, it looks like this for a student. So you have pages that they can submit, but they can also submit their collections. So what was basically done also with thanks to the University of Canberra is to merge the two existing Mahara assignment submission plugins that have been some had the collections and pages in there, others had the better locking. We just combined them and now make them available in one, and if you want to download it and use it on your own instance, then you can find it in the Moodle plugins directory. So that has been updated now to really point to the latest version of it instead of the older one, so that people really don't get confused anymore. And now that Mahara 15.04 is pretty much out of the door, I'm just waiting for the developers to give me the green light that we can make the announcements everywhere. It is already onto Mahara 15.10, so the October version of Mahara. And development has already started. And we already have the first features in there, and there's a lot of change coming. For example, bootstrap theme, again, making things more consistent, giving it a different theme, changing the themes entirely, improving usability again, and lots of other things. So if you want to contribute to anything of that, if you want to put your own features in, please do let me know so that we can take that into consideration. Feature freeze is at the end of July, so there's not that much time left. So if you want to talk now, that would be the best option. And then we look forward to hearing how you like now at the moment 15.04 or then later 15.10. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristina. I'm sure we've got lots to go on.
Except to wait for it to come to us.
Yeah.
Try to persuade you to make it happen next time.
Do you have any questions? I think we still have 2 minutes, and then it is afternoon tea anyway, right, isn't it?
Lunch.
Oh, lunch.
We're still in New Zealand time, I think.
I think they're fantastic changes. Certainly changes that will improve the user experience. And yeah, I'd certainly be keen to suggest a few things for the 15.10. I think one of them, little niggles more than anything, I suppose. The copying your page thing is brilliant.
Oh, it's fantastic.
That's really nice. When you create a page, I was saying before this morning, when you drag something onto a page in the first instance, you have to get it exactly on the little yellow dotted box, or Mahara just drops it back. But once you've done the first one, then you can drop it onto the white space and it'll assume that you want to put it in that column. So I think little things like that are really important to get right, because a new user goes along and goes,
it's not working.
It's not working. Little things like that I think are important to address, but it's clear that you guys are. I think some of those Totra features, especially the sharing with the social media, oh my god, so nice. I mean, it's share it with Facebook, share it with LinkedIn, share it with Twitter, share it with Google+. I mean, that's really, really good, especially because as we're operating, I think they say that a lot of the student growth in universities will be online, and so the more you can have that connected environment, through the virtual means, improves the student experience.
What is the feature that you're most excited about from the ones that you've seen?
I like the copy.
The copy. And the copy the template, so we can
Yeah,
send them a template.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, that's a lot of
set the
emails that
instructions,
come
yeah.
back. Even though it's step by step, they just don't follow
Copy
the
it.
step by step.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here's the link. Press the copy page. Press the copy at the top. They'll still get it wrong, but it'll be
Might
fewer
be a few less.
students. The drag and drop, I didn't realise until this morning that you couldn't do it on the iPads, because I've never tried to use the iPad for e-portfolio pages.
It's just really painful.
And I couldn't figure it out in a couple of minutes this morning how to actually get that into there. So I just,
Bootstrap is exciting. I mean, Bootstrap is the CSS JavaScript library that Twitter created.
okay.
So you can, once you start applying those CSS libraries to your elements on a page, you can make it look really, really good.
Mm.
And that the goal is there to, again, modernize it, give it more a fresh coat of paint, because we'll again have more modern icons. The backend will be more modern, and making it also easier for us in the future to stay responsive, because we've already had a responsive theme so that it adapts to the size of your screens no matter how small you go. But that was all custom development. And therefore, it is more difficult to maintain, or when new things come along, it is just sometimes gets tricky. Whereas with Bootstrap, all of that is already built in. So right now, yes, it does take quite a long time to change everything over. But in the future, it will be easier for developers, especially when they are already familiar with Bootstrap, to work with those things, to work with the classes and the CSS and the JavaScript. And then also for themers, it will ideally also be easier, because again, we will have unified things more. We've made more things consistent than are already at the moment. And then if somebody already knows how to work with the Bootstrap theme in Moodle, then kind of doing the Bootstrap theme for Mahara will be easier, because they are already familiar with the framework.
I'd be happy to, well, suggest, I suppose, the notion of taking a poll as to what social features people would like to see. Say, for example, from Tofra at the moment with what they've done with Mahara. To take a poll at the end of the day or something and say which features from Tofra would you like to see in core Mahara, maybe?
Do you want to do that, Shane?
I don't know, I just think it would be
happy for you to set it up, yeah.
Interesting idea to see, you know, what are those things that people really like?
If you want to set it up until then.
Okay, I can talk to Alison.
Doesn't have to come from me, because it's a community, so anybody can start something and see what you want to do with it.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. I hope you'll have the chance very soon to look at Mahara 1504 yourself and play with it, or maybe even get it installed. And that also means that we are now only supporting Mahara 1.9, 1.10, and 1504. So everything before 1.9 is unsupported. Mahara 1.8 will receive one last security update with the release of 1504. But then there's no support given, so any security issues will not be fixed in there anymore.
Yeah, that's a